Texas.
There's got to be a stronger word than collapse. Like, and then there was one. What the hell? What was the other game? Another game that was going on at like the same time. That was
Cincinnati or the Notre Dame or the Wisconsin Xavier finish was good.
Xavier finish.
Same time.
Xavier was winning that game, and then I liked Xavier.
Yeah.
And then the other one, it just wasn't. I wasn't hard on Oregon.
This is what you call a cold open here. We just start into it.
Yeah, we're all
in progress.
In progress, in media res. If you want to
I took Oregon in the Final Four just because I didn't think Oklahoma would. I thought they could lose to VCU.
I thought St. Joe's was going to take the Ducks out.
They could have, and you picked them, didn't you?
I picked them, absolutely. I picked them.
I did.
Yeah, didn't happen.
Sports Lounge 162. That is Drue Amon. I'm Travis Kriens. And the Cuse. Mr. Cuse, Marcus maybe in the offing. Nathan Stacking. I got a text here. Poor beard stacking and all. Could just talking National League since we've split up the previews. Nathan Stacking. I'll be on in a couple. Good for you. National League preview coming up as well. College basketball still got a couple Final Four games left. Virginia, Syracuse. Not real hard on that at all. Then you got Notre Dame and North Carolina. So we have the basically the semifinals of the ACC tournament here. As Marcus Traxler joins us from we say South Central Minnesota.
That's right.
Are we accurate geography-wise? Good.
It's perfectly accurate, right in the middle.
Good.
And a call back to famous Sports Lounge line, or sports, not even actually, no, sports block moment. I'm guessing Marcus is gonna take the Cuse.
At this stage, might as well.
Again, I'll trivia. What game were we discussing when you picked the Cuse?
I think it was Washington, North Carolina.
That was 2-7. Washington, North Carolina. Picked the Cuse. And they did not win that one. Got half the Final Four figured out. Villanova is going to play Oklahoma in a rematch of a game 5 months ago in which Oklahoma won by 30 points. So I'll say it'll be closer this time. Villanova, show me something. And they won. I do like that both teams played awful and that both teams played the worst game they'll play all tournament long in this game. So both teams were fortunate that the game came down to the final 30 seconds there. Eamon's Corner, you had a lot of, as you mentioned, had a lot of good picks early on. Villanova, Oklahoma, a bunch of 2 seeds. I said you really didn't like Oregon. Your thoughts, as we know the one half of the Final Four, Nova and Oklahoma.
Well, see, though, the pattern of the tournament is there is a decent amount of like lower seeded teams to win, and then what happens after that is that the higher seeds then beat the lower seeds, usually in the second round. It's a pretty complicated pattern, but that's what happens. And you know what? I mean, Virginia didn't care about that team at all, and here they are about to play the 10-seeded Cuse, and just really not hard for Virginia. But there they are. They really even have that hard of a path. Got kind of a lucky break with the region, and good for them. Anyway, what I was saying is that, as we all know, the higher seeds, maybe more than 90% of the time, are going to be playing these Elite Eight games.
Marcus, Oklahoma, Villanova, a bunch of 2 seeds. Really not a big surprise either are there, I guess. So they had maybe a game or 2. I mean, Villanova, they rolled until they played Kansas.
You doubted Villanova.
I had them losing to Kansas. So they.
Oh, all right.
I mean, I had them. I mean, Temple, and I had Temple beating Iowa. That didn't happen. Iowa's a shit team. And Villanova, they beat the hell out of Miami. Very good. Would you say that Villanova's been the most impressive team in the tournament thus far? 4 games in. They've played the best.
I would say I've been impressed that Oklahoma's been able to do what Oklahoma wants as easily as they have. So that's a little bit different. But, I mean, Villanova has looked really good. They took out a very good Kansas team. I hope people don't lose sight of how good Kansas is just because they didn't play their best game last night. I mean, that's a really good Jayhawk team.
What is it about Kansas? 4th straight time they've had a number 1 seed over the last 7 or 8 years. Haven't reached the Final Four once. You hope at least one time you'd be able to do that. It seems like they're one of those teams that they'll win a game or two, but they're not winning any national titles here. Anything you can put your finger on, or is it just the way it is?
I mean, it's not really like a tangible thing, but I think there is some credence to, teams maybe amp it up a little bit more for Kansas than you would against they're a name brand school as opposed to some other schools, but I mean, that's not, I don't even feel great about using that as a reason because I'm not sure that's really true.
And we're in the tournament now, and it seems like your Carolinas, your Dukes don't seem like they have trouble like this. Duke lost to Lehigh a couple years ago, but Duke's usually good for a couple wins. You have any thoughts on that? Bill Self, what do you think there, Mr. Rahman?
I'm debating bringing the private that private thing that we have about Bill Self into the public online domain.
That's up to you.
My thing with Nova, I really think, I'm more apt to kind of just attribute things to just the chance nature of sports and how you really can't
predict.
You really can't predict things greatly, and I think maybe long term you have seen Villanova generally have more success than not. There's been some times where they were probably overseeded, or it was perceived that they were, supposed to go this far and then fell short of that. But we should give credit to where they are now. That definitely counts for something, and maybe that means it's changed. I don't know. The other team that's gonna have to. I mean, well, so the one thing is, like, we criticize Villanova for not
underperforming
in the tournament, but you also shouldn't discredit the fact that Villanova is good basically every single year.
Yes,
I mean,
1 seed, 2 seeds,
or something. At least it's not like Georgetown. Georgetown hasn't been really worth a damn for a couple of years now, and then when they do get in the tournament, they lose to Florida Gulf Coast. And
nobody has had more wins than Villanova in the last 3 seasons. So.
Ooh, we're excited.
There we go with the statistic.
We like it. I'll tell you what, the book in their Final Four appearances here over the last, whatever it is, 7-8 years. I think this is the first time they've reached the second weekend in that time. I think they've been knocked out first, second round 5 of those, 6 of those years or so. So Villanova makes the Final Four again. Oklahoma is there. Buddy Hield, I think they do the Player of the Year before the tournament, I believe. And I think Drew Valentine's going to win that. But Buddy Hield certainly probably would have won it if they would have waited a couple more weeks. He has been outstanding. As Mr. Stacken joins us. Sir Stacken, how are you? Very good. Evening indeed.
Good.
Buddy Hield, 37 points. The college version of Steph Curry. He would look good, and I don't know if we talked about this off the air last week, but it seems like Mr. Hield would fit in well with the professional team in Minnesota.
Absolutely.
Make it their 5th pick in the first round or whatever.
I'm not sure how well he could catch the ball for the Vikings. So I'm sure his route running is good, but as far as actually catching the ball, that could be a problem.
Could you take a pen and pad and draw his route tree for me right now? The hooks,
I'll work on that.
All that stuff.
I think it would be a little high for him to go at 5, but I think it's exactly the type of pick that the Timberwolves need because they can't shoot for shit, and it seems like Buddy Hield can. So that seems like it would solve one of their problems. But I've heard I don't know, Dan Bonner or whatever on the telecast, or who was it? Jim Spanarkel saying he thought Hield would go in between 8 and 12, and I've heard somewhere way lower, like between 25 and 30. So
I think he's a lottery pick there, 8 to 15.
I would agree. I've just heard people kind of put him towards the later part of the first round, but if I'm the Timberwolves, he's exactly what you need. I know that Chris Dunn is also projected to go kind of in the 5 to 6 range where the Timberwolves likely are picking, but I would take Hield at 5 if that's where the Timberwolves are slated.
I'd take Buddy at 2. I think he's absolutely fantastic, and he's perfect for what the NBA is now. And everybody needs a player like a Buddy Hield in today's NBA. Why not? Why not throw him out there at the top of the first round? Not number 1, because Simmons is going to be number 1, and he should be. But this guy, Buddy's my kind of guy.
I would say it fits the need. Like you said, Sackman's probably a couple picks too early. But, they don't need a big guy. They don't need a point guard. They don't need wing players. They need a shooting type guy. They need a shooter, a three-point shooter, and that's what he can do for you. So need above everything else from Minnesota, because if you get him or a guy like him, you're pretty much set here for the next 5 years. See who develops into what. Looks like Tony Towns is going to be a top 5 player here in no time. And Wiggins, see what he becomes, and you get Hield in that bunch. That's a good little group there. Marcus, Zach.
I was just going to say,
everybody.
What?
You go.
Okay. I was just going to say that, too, it kind of depends on what coach the Timberwolves decide to go with. I would like to see
Tom Thibodeau.
Yep, that's what I would like to see, too. So I don't know if maybe that kind of brings into question then like his philosophy and how well Hield would fit into that, but I do think the coach is going to matter in some regard here.
Well, the Bulls are going to make without Thibodeau, so.
If your name is not Sam Mitchell, you can be the Wolves coach.
What is the complaints with Sam Mitchell? What does he not do, or what does he do? Is that the problem? What is the deal?
Well, they don't. I don't know if this is Sam Mitchell's fault, but they don't shoot threes, and every other team in the league shoots threes. That's kind of where the game is going, and also he plays the game like somebody who played it 20 years ago and then hasn't seen any NBA basketball since. And so he just, this sort of modern game where positions seem to be a little bit more flexible, he doesn't really jive with that.
He's outdated and bad.
Drue, is there look at this, first immediate timeout, Syracuse 4, Virginia 2, a wet dream right here on television. Would you make a correlation between the three-point shot and the NBA now that's made a difference, and compare that with baseball and the bullpens and the 100-mile-an-hour guys? Is that the same sort of deal, and how the Minnesota teams have problems in those two sports catching up with the times? Is that a thing?
It is a thing. That's kind of an accurate comparison to draw. Yeah, you're right. And I think that the Twins are trying, and it's taking them roughly 5 to 9 years in order to change that a little bit. The Timberwolves are sort of early in that phase, I think, or at least they're probably starting to realize that, at least I would certainly hope. But, but then again, the Twins, they go a whole year with picking up Blaine Boyer and having him be a guy and not striking anybody out. And so, you know what, maybe they're not learning as much as they probably should be. But, you're right, though, with the idea of, the two sports evolving and, making progressions and priorities sort of switching and them being sort of 2 steps behind on that. I think both those franchises have been kind of, in a broader sense, have been 2 steps behind with stuff.
Well, the con artist really set the Timberwolves back. Let's be real and honest here. That David Kahn's shit.
Well, I'll say this: Steph Curry's great, and Ricky Rubio is okay. There wasn't a bunch of backlash the night of, or even 2 or 3 years later, saying, "Oh, they should have taken Curry," and then Curry all of a sudden makes that next big jump last year, and they're like, "Well, then that's obviously a problem." He became really good, and Ricky Rubio probably didn't become as good as people thought he would be. So,
it's like with, yeah. I mean, it's the Johnny Flynn's, it's the Derek Williams, the Wes Johnsons. I mean, those picks.
Those are bad.
When you're picking that high, you gotta hit the head on them. And Kahn and the rest. I mean, they just haven't hit.
They're going to win some, 28, 29 games this year. You like to get to 30. If they had Thaddeus Young stacking, would they be a playoff team?
No. No.
Okay.
No, but they have. I looked at this the other day. They've lost about 8 games or so this year by 5 points or less, and they've had fourth quarter leads in a lot of these games. So they're close. They just have to know how to finish, and ultimately a new
That's
voice.
literally the story of the Timberwolves for the last 5 years. They've had leads, they blow them. They're in every game. I mean, that's the Timberwolves have been like that for almost. It feels like a whole decade almost.
I kind of disagree with that comment about not regretting the Curry draft until
right away or years later.
I think that was going on pretty much from year one, because Curry was good from the very beginning, and it's just that he has continually got better to the point where it's just goddamn ridiculous now. But kind of from the beginning, where Flynn wasn't ever playing consistently, and Rubio. I mean, it was a couple of years before Rubio even showed up and started to play some stinking games. So it looked bad pretty much right away. The only thing that really sealed it was, finally it was like, yeah, actually turns out Flynn's not good. And then, Rubio had some injuries too early in his career, and it was pretty clear that he had some pretty bad limitations.
Well, and Rubio also didn't
play
for the Timberwolves the first 2 or 3 years after they drafted him.
That's what I said. Yep.
I'm sorry, missed that.
The other aspect that is that was immediately panned was that they took 2-point guards within 4 picks of each other, regardless of what you thought about Curry.
Was part of that, they didn't know if Rubio was actually going to ever play, and we need a point guard, so we're going to get one of them.
But maybe.
That's what I thought at the time. Rubio may never come and play for you, so we need a point guard. We're going to get one of them. And if one of them turns out, we'll be fine.
One of my saddest...
Still didn't work.
No.
I felt so sad when Rubio had the knee injury his first year. It was a really sad moment for me, because I was watching the Timberwolves, and he was really fun to watch, and I liked him a lot. And then the thing happened. I don't know. That's not really related to anything, but I was really sad when Rubio got hurt way back when that happened.
Does it remind you of F. Flariano getting hurt 10 years ago? It was so good.
God damn it. Kind of does, actually.
God damn it.
That sucked, too.
Syracuse, they've scored 5 points in 6 minutes. A real good team. Real good team. I'm rooting hard for this team right here. I hope they beat them.
Can I make a comment about college basketball generally not being good? Can I just say that?
Yes. What your thoughts on not being good?
Still not very good. And I don't know when it's going to change, but so many of these games are just not good.
Stack, what did you think of Kansas Villanova? I did not think that was a good game. I thought that was a poorly played game.
Well, considering how fast Villanova's played in this tournament and how generally good Kansas is, I would agree with you that a 64-59 game is not what you would peg that game to be for a final score. Perry Ellis didn't play well. Kansas was held to a season low 25 points in the first half. I'd agree. I would say it was genuinely not a great game, but at least it was close, so it had that drama aspect to it.
It just really sucks when there's two good teams that are like, have talent and all that, and then they play in a game, and then the game's not good, where there's people not making shots and there's crappy turnovers and. Ugh.
Second half of Kansas
UConn.
Yes.
It was competitive. I mean,
it was close.
I think you kind of have to.
Well, yeah, there's levels of.
One team would go on like a 7-0 run, and then the other team would go on a 9-0 run, where both teams would have long stretches of not playing well and not shooting well and turnovers. And Nova controlled the first half, and then Kansas came back early in the second. You're like, all right, Kansas, they're up by 5. They're going to finally win this one. And then Nova comes back, and then they end up at the end. So.
I mean, those were two of the
they were good.
4 or 5 best teams left in the tournament. I mean, so I think that should be taken into account.
Yes.
Now, Thursday was certainly a bad day with all the games being decided by double digits. But Friday, I thought that action was very good for the most part.
It's a Friday-Sunday tournament. It's a Friday-Sunday tournament.
Wisconsin Pitt barf, or Wisconsin Notre Dame barf.
Awful.
Oh.
Jamie Dixon, former Pitt coach, went to TCU. That's where he went to school. Marcus, everybody was stunned. What say you, Jamie Dixon? Is it a deal where, I've done everything I can do at Pitt. Let's go back home, see if I can get TCU in the tournament.
Maybe, but I think he went to a tougher league with a crappier team. He does get a renovated arena, but that doesn't appear to make any sense. Talent is probably about equal Texas to the Pittsburgh area, basketball-wise. I don't know. But I think I'd rather be in the ACC where you can get 8 teams in every year than the Big 12 where TCU is going to get their doors blown off most nights in the Big 12.
If you heard it, though, it sounded like the Pittsburgh administration wasn't they were okay with letting Dixon go because really Pitt hadn't done anything since moving up to the ACC. Yes, he gets in the tournament, but they can't get to the Sweet 16, so what good does that do? Kind of seemed like he had maximized the talent level there, and the sky's the limit for him at TCU. I mean, they're coming in with no expectations. Well, no, I'm saying...
come on, man.
No, what I'm saying is that they don't have any real expectations for him. I mean...
If he makes a good NIT run, that's like, all right, NIT, all right. Second round, that's good.
What I'm trying to say is they're not expecting...
It's Vegas 16 next year or bust.
Ooh, Vegas 16, the Big 14 tournament.
If they don't get in that next year, I think he's got to be on the hot seat.
What is this garbage with the Vegas thing? What the fuck is this?
It's a 16-team tournament that they only had 8 teams. They only find 8 teams. And it's like 3 weeks since anybody has played a game. They're going to play, what are these games? Today, tomorrow, Monday, or Tuesday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think. Tremendous.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah.
It's tremendous.
And now.
I would go to that in a heartbeat if I could. Tremendous.
Who's in it?
Oakland is in it. That's all you need to know. That's all I care about.
Right.
Oakland's in it.
Northern Illinois.
Illinois.
Old Dominion.
See, look at the quality teams.
369 goddamn teams now, and they all play 38 games. It's ridiculous. Stop.
Kevin Stallings.
It's about getting an education.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Go to Vegas for a week. At the end of March. To fill the Pitt job, they went to Nashville. They got Kevin Stallings. I was surprised that Mr. Stallings left for Vanderbilt, the place where he's been at for a long, long time. Had varied amounts of success. So usually gets knocked out by a 12 seed in that NCAA tournament. And they make it every 3 years. So it's Kevin Stallings is. Huh? When did this happen?
Yesterday.
I read Stacken's blog, and Stacken's blog told me.
Someone hacked into my blog then.
Kevin Stallings to Pitt. Breaking news from 2 days ago.
Okay, I do
Is
see
this
that.
is this a lateral move? Kind of a lateral move? You compared Pitt and TCU. Vanderbilt
SEC
and Pitt.
sucks.
Vanderbilt and Pitt. No. Is this a move up?
I mean, to a degree. I mean, it's not like the SEC roaring right now with their hoops. I mean, it's Kentucky and nobody else. I mean, someone else can step up. I thought that I had heard that the Pittsburgh administration, like the AD, was from the West Coast. I know they had tried to get Sean Miller from Arizona, and he said, no, I'm not going back.
That'd be ridiculous. No.
I don't know if there was someone else that they were looking for before they landed on Stallings, but I don't know. I guess I would view it as kind of a lateral move, but I think he could do more with the ACC or with Pitt in the ACC since that's a better basketball conference right now than the SEC.
We've seen the dominoes fall here. Any chance, Drue, any chance that these dominoes, once they're all fallen, that our man Chris Paul is in the mix of this whatsoever? Once this goes down to the D3 level, you're filling up assistant spots.
I think
dominoes going to happen.
Hear his name thrown out here, if you haven't already. Okay?
For
This guy's getting a job with the
Vanderbilt
men's basketball program.
Keep your ears to the ground so that you can follow the carousel, and we can connect the dots later and draw it all the way back to Jamie Dixon going to TCU.
Chris Paul's involved. you watch.
How's the stacking bracket challenge coming? Everybody, I would say what? 80% at least have their champ knocked out, if not more?
I'd say you're looking pretty good here, assuming North Carolina wins. But
I'm waiting in the weeds here, in the back in the mid-30s here.
But that doesn't matter because everyone's kind of bunched up. Really, you almost need Oklahoma to. You can't have Oklahoma or Villanova win on that side because there are a few people that have them winning. But if North Carolina can win, I think you're looking pretty good.
I think the guy in the lead right now actually has North Carolina.
Might be. I'm pulling it up here.
I think there's only 2 or 3 other guys ahead of me that have North Carolina, so that's good. I hope they win. You want to do baseball stacking?
Oh, sure. Nothing gets me more hard than baseball talk.
Actually, let's.
Do women's.
Yeah, let's finish out the college basketball.
Finish out the
Quick thing, Chris Paul. If there is a school that's just named South, do you think there's a school that's just named South? There has to be a school that's just named South.
Southern would be the closest.
You ain't getting hired there.
Is there an acronym? South?
No.
Hawaii? Something Hawaii?
Gotta be
Hawaii?
the South.
South Hawaii, Hawaii, the Hawaii.
There you go,
South Hawaii.
What if he got a job at Tulane or something and got to play South Florida?
That'd be close. What if I would say Northern State maybe? Northern. Southern.
There's a South College. It's in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Wow.
It is a for-profit post-secondary educational institution, formerly known as Knoxville Business College, and they accept everybody. 100% acceptance rate.
There we go.
They will take your money. I don't think they offer sporting programs.
Now's the time. There's a lot of fertile talent in the mountains of West North Carolina for them to get from. So that's a good idea there.
There's also a South University, but there's not much of a bio on this. So.
Kind of a big rivalry, South College versus South University.
Yep.
In the women's game, the Cuse. The Cuse are in the Final Four. My God. They're going to play Washington, a 7 seed, and Washington played USD, which means USD is great. And on the other side, you'll have UConn play Baylor in that one, your national championship right there. So the Cuse of Washington, they'll get their ass kicked by UConn next week. I was at the games on Friday. Marcus was at the games on Friday. Attendance, I like the attendance. 4,600 on Friday, a little over 4,000 today. I thought it'd be around 6. Despite that, I'm impressed. And Marcus, you had said that the Cuse average 1,000 people a game. So this, by far, I would say, better than you should hope for a game involving 0 local teams.
Yeah, and they had a bunch of games early in the season where they drew like between 300 and 500 fans, and they play in the Carrier Dome, just like the men. And then they got about 2,000 for their first round tournament game, and then around 3,000 for their second round game. So
these were home games.
Those were home games. But as far as at home, I mean, 1,000 a game. I have to say I was impressed. I thought they'd do a little bit better, but I think for the first time around, you got to be okay with this. I just hope that this is, if they have this regional again, that you don't do worse than this. I mean, it's got to be something that they can sustain. Otherwise, they're going to have trouble keeping these events.
Well, it was Good Friday, as we all know, a huge holiday, one of the 20th biggest holidays in the month of March and April when it does happen.
I mean, you factor in that Good Friday and those kind of chilly temperatures, who knows really what could have happened under ideal conditions.
Is that why South Carolina lost? They were too cold?
Probably. I mean, if it's not 90 with relative humidity in the thousands, they're not going to be good. I was surprised the Cuse, they were down by 13, 10 at the half, and your normal 1-4 matchup, one team's better than the other. And the Cuse came out gangbusters in the second half, won that game. Tennessee beat the hell out of Ohio State, and the Cuse put up almost 90 points. So unlike a game played in the 50s for the men, I mean, these games, points, things happened. Entertainment. I saw the games. I thought the games were. The first game was better than the second game, but the games overall was good, I thought.
Quality women's basketball, which was good to see. I thought that in the run-up to the regional semifinal, Syracuse's coach, somebody asked him about this because it had snowed the day before, and asked him if his team had enjoyed the snowballs or anything, and he's like, "No, we're past that point. New York. We're from New York, because South Carolina, when they got there, they were enamored by the snow, and they played 2 games in Sioux Falls like they were there to take care of business. So I was really impressed with their team. They have a good mix of shooters and inside players, and I would guess that I think they're going to beat Washington, and then they'll get killed by UConn, but making the national championship won't be anything to shake a stick at.
2 things. One, I thought Syracuse's head coach looked a little bit like Mike Tirico.
Yep.
Very good.
And 2, the women's championship game is going to be terrible. Because UConn's either going to play a 4 seed or a 7 seed and wipe the floor with them. It'll be like they're playing Tulane. And
I completely agree with the Syracuse Tirico. Totally right. I saw him, and that was like the first thing that popped in my head. Well done.
Thanks.
And bring it full circle, Mike Tirico, Syracuse graduate.
Yep.
I think UConn's 119-1 in their last 120 games, and I believe they've won every one by at least double digits. I think is the stat.
That's correct.
So,
what team would give UConn the better matchup, Washington or Syracuse? I'm going to say Washington just because of that score that they have. She's like 3rd in the country, and I'm forgetting her name, so that hurts my point. But
I've seen one more Syracuse game than I have Washington game, and I have not seen Washington play this year. So I have no.
Plum, that's her name. Someone Plum. K. Plum.
You had a nice thing here. We'll get in the USD thing here. You had a nice deal where Stanford beat SDSU, and then Stanford beats Notre Dame, who beat SDSU, and then Washington beat Stanford. Washington beat USD in this whole triangle of shit here. You and me, Zach, and talked about it on Tuesday, USD's thing, and I wrote a little blog about it.
It's a very good piece.
Good. Eamon's Corner, it'll be in the Sports Lounge Quarterly print edition here, newsstands everywhere. Eamon, your thoughts on this? People saying, "Oh, USD," because I didn't hear any of this at the end of the year. Oh yeah, USD, they should have gotten in. I mean,
Well,
is this how do you reasonably make an argument that yes, what they're doing now makes them a tournament team?
Number one, I agree with the whole triangle of potential outcomes thing is entirely meaningless because it's things that can't happen and won't ever happen. So why talk about something that's impossible? And then, so this USD thing, I don't understand it. I really kind of think it just, one or two members of the media threw this out there, and it
I would say the Yankton / Vermilion group, mostly Yankton group's hard on it. You got a few Sioux Falls guys on this, so I'd say there's a solid 5 or 6 suspects here. That just killed me.
I just wasn't. I don't think it was initially just stated correctly, which is that you know what, if you want to say you think USD is one of the best 65 teams or whatever, go ahead and say that. But you're gonna have to also clarify and say that the NCAA tournament is not chosen, or like the committee does not pick teams based on that. And USD, with the criteria that is used, they were not deserving of a spot in the NCAA tournament, and that is not really up for argument. So something just went really, really wrong here, and then USD wins a couple games that are nice, but it does not indicate that like they should have been in the tournament or that they would have done anything in the tournament had they got there.
When the Jacks were in the WNIT a couple years ago,
yes.
Was there any of this chatter?
No. That was brought up once by Mr. Eyebrows himself a couple days ago, and that year SDSU lost 9 games. So and they made a run to the Final Four or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Lost to UTEP.
Lost to UTEP.
And which very well could happen. The exact same thing. USD could reach the Final Four and lose to UTEP next week. I mean, SDSU lost 9 games that year. USD, they lost 6 games this year, and the USD supporters will say, well, 2 of them were the first 2 games of the year without Seacamp, their best player, and it's just, well, if they would have had her, of course they would have beaten who they played those first 2 games. Of course they would have won at Northern Iowa. They lost at Northern Iowa without their best player by 19. They had their best player a couple nights ago. They were at home, a game which I think approximately 105 points were scored, and they won, I think, by a single point. So I'd say it's a hard stretch now that we've seen both teams play with their full squads on both home courts to say, of course, USD would have won with Seacamp at Northern Iowa when they won by a single point with her a couple nights ago. So.
Well, the one thing I find amusing, and Amon, I think, kind of just brought it up haphazardly, but it was true earlier today, is that SDSU was a 12 seed. USD would have been a 15 or a 14 in this tournament, and they wouldn't have had a chance to play a Miami. They would have played a team that would have kicked their ass. So it's just, it's not really the same comparison. I do remember after SDSU lost to USD a couple years ago, somebody asked, do you think there's any way you can get an at-large? And AJ's basically like, no. I just
9 losses. 9.
They have a good non-conference schedule, but you have to win those games, and it's the same scenario with USD. Just losing to Washington isn't a reason you should get in the tournament.
I truly believe the people think they should be in. I absolutely believe the people that are saying this think they got robbed. And this proves it right here.
Go back and do this over. Give USD the 15 seed at large like they deserve.
How would they have done against Miami, specifically Miami at Stanford?
They probably could have beaten them.
Okay.
But they didn't deserve. I mean, they didn't deserve that spot. SDSU.
No, they could have beaten them, which means that they do deserve to beat them.
It's a sad situation all around. It's kind of died down now, and I hope people have come to their senses, which hasn't happened. But whatever.
I don't want to talk about women's basketball anymore. I want to talk about baseball.
Baseball it is, the National League. Eamon?
What's up?
What is the number one storyline heading into this season, National League or otherwise? I would say there's one overriding storyline about the whole season, which would be what?
I don't think I'm really good at knowing what this
Guessing?
is anymore. I do know that in the National League, the four best records in baseball this year are probably all going to be National League teams, and the four worst records are all going to be National League teams. That's not something that happens very often, but so there's a weird kind of.
Are you saying that the top 1/10% of the teams in the National League have as much wins or wealth as the bottom 90% of the National League?
That's pretty much where I'm at. The inequality there is terrible. There needs to be a revolution now.
Bernie Sanders for National League president.
Syracuse, 12 points in 14 minutes. They're playing to play for the Final Four.
Kriens, what's the story? What are you talking about?
It's Chicago Cubs.
I would say that. That's right, Zach. And Chicago Cubs are your favorites. Similar to the Nationals past few years, though they are your favorites. A legitimate favorite. They got the manager. They got the young talent. They got the bats. I do, however, question their starting pitching. Lester is good. Arrieta is great. Other than that, I mean, can they beat the Mets? Can they beat the Cardinals in a 5? I mean, they beat the Cardinals last year. Do the Cubs have the pitching? That's my question.
Yeah.
I mean, Arrieta, Lester, Lackey.
Lackey, I tell you, that's.
I mean, I would say it's good enough, and it's particularly strong at the top. And I think Arrieta's, might be your Cy Young winner in the National League. So it's like, I mean, they're stacked. I mean, they are definitely stacked, no doubt about it. I do think there's a little bit of bust potential with this team, being that they are pretty young. I don't really buy guys like Anthony Rizzo being as good as they were last year. I think Chris Bryant's probably going to keep gradually getting better. I mean, he might very well become like a superstar this year. Schwarber is a guy that I know is really liked, particularly by you, Kriens, and he's definitely exciting. I think he's going to strike out way too much. So it's like they have some problems for sure. That said, they are the most likely team that is going to, kind of surge ahead and win, 98 games and win the National League Central for sure. But I don't really buy it all that much. I also think there's quite a bit of bust potential with the Mets, just based on you got all those power arms. But they're really weak, I think, hitting. So if one of their stars kind of goes down with an arm injury, I think it could kind of easily get away from them. But I don't know. I like the Cubs a lot. I like the Dodgers a lot. I think the Mets will more likely than not be really good, and the Nationals I think are going to be good. The Giants are going to be good.
Pirates.
I mean, they'll be in that wild card chase for sure.
We've listed 7 teams, and I would say those will be the 7 teams that'll make up the 5 spots. There's a definite divide. There's 7 really good teams, and there's a couple teams, and then there's about 6 very bad teams. Braves, your Rockies.
Yeah, just teams who aren't really even trying to win.
Phillies.
Yeah.
Which is a contrast to the American League, where pretty much the entire league is trying to, be an 85-win team and be like, in the conversation for the playoffs. It's weird. It kind of played out like this last year without anyone really kind of knowing it.
Yep.
But this year we have a pretty clear idea, and I think it's pretty much exactly what's going to happen, unless like some weird things happen. But
the Mets are the opposite of the Cubs. As you said, their offense isn't all that good, but they have the best pitching, the best starting rotation ever. I believe they can become the first team to ever strike out 1,000 just on their starters, maybe. Maybe that's overall. I think it's 1,000 batters.
And I mean, they still got Bartolo.
Fat Bartolo, big fan of that.
I'm a big fan of that still being a thing. I'm really happy that he's still playing in the major leagues. I genuinely am. And yeah, I don't know. DeGrom, Harvey, Syndergaard. Who's the other one? Matz.
I mean, this has potential right now to be the best young rotation for many decades. This year, if they stay healthy. I mean, Harvey's had Tommy John. I think a couple other have had Tommy John in some trouble. They got Zach Wheeler. He's going to take over for Fat Bartolo when he dies in July. They've got some guys here. I mean, if only 3 of them can stay healthy. Marcus, let's put the GM hat on here. If you had to trade one of them for a bat, who are you trading? What do you want?
I have no idea.
God damn it!
I want to just say, isn't Steven Matz like the 5th guy?
He's slated to be the 4th guy. Bartolo's the 5th guy.
Well, they trade for a shortstop maybe. I mean, I think they're like gonna go with like Asdrubal Cabrera at short.
Asdrubal.
Cespedes is not going to be what he was in the second half of last year, but
they got Neil Walker.
Good. Although Lucas Duda is kind of underrated,
Duda.
Yeah, really.
Boo.
And David Wright's kind of like Jim Mauer now.
Yeah, David Wright used to be good. Not as good anymore. About average. Matt Williams got fired. They brought in Dusty Baker.
Worse.
That's a worse, you say. Worse.
It's equally bad. I mean, that is just absolutely awful. Well, I don't know why they did that. That's dumb.
I know why they did that.
Why'd they do it?
Because Lloyd McClendon wasn't available. That's why.
They got to have somebody to keep Bryce Harper straight. Keep that kid from doing stuff.
People seem to be down on the Cardinals, which I think is ridiculous since they've been good forever. Stacking?
Yeah.
I like the Cardinals to win that division because why not?
You're high as a kite right now.
You want to put a house on it? House
No,
against,
no.
Against all my hats.
Why?
Why? I mean, I like the Cardinals to win that division.
I like the Cubs to win that division, and honestly, I'm flirting with either with the Cardinals not making the playoffs and have the Pirates get the wild card.
I think the Cardinals are pretty average. Now it's like the reason why
their pitching is very good.
We know that the Cardinals are kind of chronic overachievers, but also kind of understand that there's got to be a year where things don't go so great. And they kind of win at that 83, 84 win clip that they probably are. I mean, right. I mean, it's still, Adam Wainwright will probably pitch 200 innings and be, a 4 or 5 WAR guy, which is good. That means you're...
How many games is he going to win? How many games?
Depends if he stays healthy.
There might be, Michael Wacha is a young pitcher that nobody really talks about very much, but he's
very good.
Definitely really good. They signed Mike Leake for too much money. That was a really dumb. I don't understand that at all.
Drue.
Okay.
Trevor Rosenthal's all right.
Drew Almond.
What's up?
Do you want to take a guess at what Fangraphs has the projected record for the Cardinals this season?
62 and 100.
They're usually. I mean, it's usually conservative for most teams. I'll say they have them winning 86 games.
You were kind of in the ballpark, 84, and it's 85. So
there we go.
80, and you said 86. So there you go.
Nice.
I know they lost Hayward to Chicago, and who's one of their pitchers that they lost to the Cubs?
John Lackey.
John Lackey. Thank you. And I was so busy keeping the hot stove with the wood that I didn't catch
goodness.
I didn't catch all the moves, the acquisitions that the Cardinals had. Did they get anyone in the offseason besides Leak? Any consequence?
No, I mean no.
So you lose some of that power, or you never should count the Cardinals out. But I just don't see what they brought in to be able to help.
They from within. They build from within.
They do.
I mean, I think their pitching's okay, but is it good compared to like probably 5 other teams in the National League who have better starting rotations?
I mean, Carlos Martinez, I like him. Him as a guy.
I mean, who's their best player? Matt Carpenter? Like, he's not a star, but he's a nice player. But I mean, and Matt Holliday is not going to be great forever. I mean, they're kind of old. They do find a way to have these younger players like overachieve that aren't heralded prospects, and I just don't think you can do that forever. And one of these years, I think it'll be this year. They're not everything's gonna. And they won 100 games last year, for Christ's sake.
So I mean, are they gonna? I mean, as you said, 100 games. They overachieved. What it was them, the Twins, and maybe Kansas City.
Yeah.
The teams where you look at the analytics and say those teams won 10 games more than they should have. I think were the teams.
Yeah. The Twins were one. Yeah, the Cardinals were another. Those were good.
Even if they, I mean, are they 10 games worse than last year, which is still 90 wins? I mean, I don't see them being. I see them at least getting into that wild card. I haven't won in the division.
And that's fine. I mean, they kind of have to have a track record of being able to pull this off. And if you think they can do it again, then I don't really disagree with you.
They do have to.
I'm not too sold on the Cubs.
They do have to play, obviously, Pittsburgh and Chicago 18, 19 times. But they also get to play the Reds in Milwaukee. So that's good.
Yeah. Those three teams are going to eat up the bottom of that division. And again, their records are probably going to be a little bit inflated because you have 5 bad teams in the National League.
Seems like each division has 2 playoff contenders. The Central has 3. They have 2 awful teams that could lose 90 games plus, and like Arizona's kind of that middle team. Miami's a middle team in each division. So there's a clear line in the sand right there.
You have anything bold to predict? Do you think?
Well, I'm going to make my World Series pick.
You like the Diamondbacks, don't you?
No. I just have a shirt. I have a shirt on them. I got a shirt. Max. I like the Giants to win the World Series, not because it's an even year, but Cueto's going back to the National League. He did not pitch well for Kansas City, especially in the regular season. His last couple starts in the playoffs were good when they needed them, but Bumgarner's very good. I like their offense. I think Matt Duffy's a guy. Buster Posey, obviously, the best catcher going. Samardzija goes back to the National League. If they can find a 4th starter, I'd really like them. I think they're winning the World Series because I think I like their lineup and their top 3 guys.
Yeah, I mean, they have like some underrated players that you just don't really hear a lot about. Like Brandon Crawford's a really strong shortstop. I mean, we know about Posey. If he's healthy, he's like potentially like an MVP type guy.
Denard!
You're good. Matt Duffy's an underrated player, and you mentioned him.
Signed Denard Span.
Signed Span, which is good. I mean, that gives you some depth in the outfield. Yeah, they're good. I think they'll be probably one of the wild card teams.
Semi-bold prediction for me. The Dodgers will not make the playoffs, and they will be 3rd or worse in the division.
Really? So you like Arizona?
I like Arizona. I like acquisition of Greinke. I think Arizona's got a lot going for them. I don't know if I could quite pick them to the playoffs yet. That's why I'm kind of struggling between them and St. Louis and Pittsburgh and Washington, trying to decide who's going to win the 2 wild card spots out of those 4 teams. But I do think the Dodgers take a step back this year and will finish 3rd in the division and not come really all that close to the 2nd wild card. Maybe like 5 or 6 games back on that.
They lost Greinke. Any other? That's really their only loss. They lost Greinke. Is that?
They didn't replace him at all. I mean, they tried to get Aroldis Chapman and then backed out of that when those domestic violence charges came about.
Scott Kazmir, they signed him. He has been awful. It's not been good for him early on. I signed a pitcher out of Japan, who I'm excited to see since I like all Cubans and Japanese. I'm excited for him.
Well, I don't think it's a situation where the Dodgers really needed to do a whole lot. I mean, their lineup's really good. They have young talent with Corey Seager maybe being the NL Rookie of the Year. They still have Kershaw.
They have a Cuban guy, Julio Urias.
Urias is going to be a kid who might end up debuting. I think he might not even be 20 yet.
Yeah, he's 19 years old. He'll be up mid-season. So I think they have young depth at pitching. Alex Wood, they got from the Braves last year at the end of the year. Obviously, Greinke's a pretty big loss. But I think they have starting pitching depth later in the season if people get healthy. So, they're loaded at a lot of places. So
I think Jock Peterson.
He's got it. His second half was awful.
I think he's going to hit. I think Jock Peterson's going to hit 208 with 28 home runs or something.
That'd be great.
Still be a productive player, but the average is going to be pretty ugly, I think.
Pretty sure.
Jock Jams.
Jock Jams. Charlie sent me a telegram with his picks. What it was, Mets, Cubs, Giants, I believe, division winners. With the Cardinals, and I think the Dodgers, his wild card, I believe it was. Mr. Stacken, do you have picks? Are we teasing the blog? You're going back and forth here, yep. Arizona. I don't know.
I can give you the division pick or the division winners right now. I will take the Giants in the West. I'll take the Cubs in the Central, and I'll take the Mets in the East.
Okay.
And then for the wild cards, as previously mentioned,
Pittsburgh. Obviously, you'll take Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, Washington, St. Louis, and Arizona. I think will all be vying for those two wild card spots.
Need two of them. We need to pick two.
I know. That's why I said I'm not going to quite get.
You wouldn't be surprised if there's 8 teams in the wild card hunt.
Right now, if I had to venture a guess, I would lean towards Pittsburgh and Washington for the wild cards.
Okay, Pittsburgh, they make it every year. Marcus, do you have National League predictions?
Division winners, Mets, Cubs, and Dodgers.
Okay.
And wild card game will feature Nationals and Giants.
Nationals, Giants. Eamon.
All right. I'm just going to give you my division winners. I like to do a lot of stuff, try to predict the records.
You're going to do that again this year?
So I'll do that. Now to say the winners and all that. I'll take I'm going to take the Nationals in the East, and
look at this bastard.
I'm going with the Cubs in the Central, the Giants in the West, Mets and Dodgers. Your wild card teams.
Mets and Dodgers. So Pittsburgh looking out. I like the Mets. As you know, we were on Matt Harvey very, very early. I believe we have an award.
Yeah.
Named for this man.
We were all over him.
We were Mets, Cardinals, Giants. Giants to win the whole thing. Pittsburgh. I'd hate to leave them out, but Cubs be there. Washington. A Cubs-Washington wild card.
Wow.
Phillies lose 103 games.
103 games.
Who's going to be worse? Who's going to be worse, Philadelphia or Cincinnati this year? Because I feel like it's a fair question.
I'd say the Braves.
I think the Reds might be okay, actually.
Replace the Reds with the Braves, then we can talk.
How about the Brewers? Because they could lose 100.
The Reds
they all could lose. They all could
like a 76, 77 win team. They're not too bad, and they got, Votto's one of the best in the freaking game.
Frickin'.
But yeah, they're a little bit below average, but they're not ass awful. I think it's between the Braves and the Phillies and the Brewers, kind of for the worst team.
Instead of always having the Yankees and the Red Sox on ESPN and Fox, I want to see the Braves against the Phillies and the Reds against the Phillies or Braves, just to see the shit teams battle it out against one another.
Poop
Can I
fart.
interest you in a MLB.TV package, Stack? And I know you like to watch the.
No, let me check and see if I have it on Dish.
You
Have it
won't.
on Dish. You're
We
gonna
gotta
get it on
go
Dish.
through. We gotta do player awards.
Awards. Who do you like
Yeah.
for the MVP?
I have plenty of Fox channels, so I'll be able to catch the Marlins anytime I want.
They'll be blacked out.
Yeah, you got some odd goddamn setup there where you get what did you get the other week? That was you got Root Sports Pirates games for Christ's sake.
Yep.
Fargo.
Yep. Well, I mean that's because I have Dish. I mean it's not just because Fargo decided, hey, let's go get Root
So you
Sports.
got to pay extra.
For fun.
Well, you pay for your sports package of some sort.
Yep. Sports package includes 80 regionals, channels, and I mean a lot of them get blacked out. But
hey, language.
Let's do this. We gotta go MVP, Cy Young's, rookies.
MVP, Cy Young,
Let's wrap it up.
anything you want.
Okay. What?
Amen.
All right. MVP. I'm gonna go with Harper Bryce.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Cy Young winner?
Would be good enough, so I'm not giving Goldsmith the trophy.
He can win. I think he'll win Rookie of the Year and Cy Young too.
Who? Harper Bryce?
Yeah, Harper Bryce.
Maybe that's what we're talking about.
First of all, he's not even eligible for the Rookie of the Year.
He's not even a fucking pitcher. Who's going to win the pitcher award? Cy Young. I mean, Kershaw, that's easy. Arrieta was great. Greinke was in there, too.
A lot of guys. You want to?
I'm not picking any of those guys.
Jose Fernandez?
Goddamn right.
You won.
Goddamn right.
No, I'm going Arrieta for the NL side.
Again. You hinted at Seager being a Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I probably want to give him. I would like to glance over some of the candidates potentially yet, but Seager's probably my guy. Yeah, Seager, Dodger shortstop, NL Rookie of the Year.
Brian Price, I hope he gets fired. This guy's the worst. But he's the Christian Ponder of managers. That's how bad this guy is. This guy's a fucking fool.
Who's even with?
We should
Sucks.
We should take bets on who we think will be the first manager fired.
Cincinnati Reds. He's awful. First manager fired.
It doesn't have to be on this show, but next week maybe.
May as well be that stupid ass. I would. He's the worst. He's the fucking worst. Stack and Marcus. Let's go Marcus first. You got any? You got Harper Bryce? Who you got?
Bryce Harper, MVP. Jake Arrieta, Cy Young, and Corey Seager, Rookie of the Year. No, I'm not taking any risks here.
Wow, big time risk taker. I like Carolina to play Kansas in the title game. I like the Warriors to play the Spurs. Stacking.
No clue on Rookie of the Year, but I will take Bryce Harper for MVP. I will take Jacob deGrom to win the
Look
MVP.
at you. Good job.
And I will take Arrieta second, Shelby Miller third, Clayton Kershaw fourth, and Jose Fernandez fifth.
Kershaw fourth. My God.
Miller.
And Adam Wainwright's going to get a few votes too. But Shelby Miller is my big wild card this year.
Good for you. I like my guy, Jose Fernandez, to win the Cy Young. Despite me picking the Cardinals to win that division, I like Chris Bryant to be the MVP.
Nice.
And Seager, yeah, may as well. I don't know. Rookies. Don't know who the rookies are, so
I'll pick Seager too then.
gotta look at the rookies. Nope, I'll take the Japanese pitcher for the Dodgers. Kenta Maeda, however you say that. That's my rookie of the year.
Good.
Good.
Byung-Ho Park, can I take him for my AL Rookie of the Year?
Absolutely. You want to give a teaser for next week? Absolutely. Absolutely. That pretty much wraps up the sports for the day. What are you? Marcus is chomping on something here. What do you got here?
I've been eating Chex Mix this whole show.
No shit. I've been hearing this Chex Mix like a son of a bitch.
It sounds like somebody's got a window open. There's like a 40-mile-an-hour windstorm outside.
I got a window open, but it's not windy at all.
I have a fan on. A fan.
To illustrate the level of respect I have for the show, I'm eating during the
Off
show.
camera. Off camera.
Yep.
Do you want a quick trivia question?
I can get hard about some trivia.
I gotta run.
Okay, Marcus, out.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, we could do it.
Well, would it be better with more than 2 men?
I would say yes.
Okay. Well, then we will not have it. We will have it next week.
Yeah, we can do it next week. It's NFL related. It's really interesting.
God damn you. Okay, that's fine.
Look at this, a neat and tidy 69-minute show. How about that?
Not bad. You get a blizzard in Denver? What do we got? Weather update.
Happened on Tuesday, I think it was, maybe Wednesday. And yeah, Wednesday it was. Snow dam, it's foot of snow in about 6 hours. And then by 6 o'clock it cleared out. I think we might have actually gotten some sunshine. And then, the next day it was 49 degrees. And
What are you chewing on? Jelly beans there?
I mean, they're cookie. Now that snow's pretty much melted away already, and it's supposed to be like 60 tomorrow. So there you go. It's gone. It's over.
That's the beauty about Denver and places like Rapid City. It can snow like a foot or two, and then the next day it'll be 60.
Damn right.
And melts it all away.
I probably could have went and golfed today, but I'm not going.
Living in a town, living in a township with the Super Bowl champs.
It's amazing.
Big deal, little deal, no deal.
Super huge deal. I think about it all the time.
I made a bet with my uncle yesterday. I said the Broncos will not win more than 6 games next year. Am I crazy?
Well, they don't have a quarterback.
I mean, if their defense is like that, I mean, I'd say they will win at least 9. Mark Sanchez isn't awful.
They should sign Bob Griffin away from the Browns and then trade up for Wentz.
Carson Wentz.
Yep.
How would you compare the excitement of Carson Wentz in Fargo to Denver winning that Super Bowl? I would have to say the biggest thing to come to Fargo since Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
I mean, I expect.
I had one I had one local scout come to my house on what was that, Tuesday or Wednesday?
Really?
Whenever that was. No, it was Thursday. Whatever the hell Carson was there. One scout did show up. I did what he asked me to do and said I'm probably looking at being an undrafted rookie free agent. So we'll just see where I land. It's probably going to be with the Cincinnati Bengals, though.
Really? Have they called you yet?
No. They haven't really said anything, but if I had to venture a guess, it would be the Bengals.
Why the Bengals?
Areas of need and.
What position do you play?
I specialize in tight end, wide receiver, even though I'm slow as shit, and also I can kick and punt. So, and I'm also supposed to keep Vontaze Burfict in line, so that's gonna be a little bit of a tough job.
I would say you're more of a holder for the PATs.
I think so. I think I could do it very good. In that case, then Minnesota's probably gonna call.
Ouch, that hurts. Nice.
Drinking some water, you could be a water boy.
The Flint, Michigan Water Boys.
The Carson Wentz phenomenon, though, here in this town, I think they shut down part of Broadway on Monday so ESPN could do a story with him. NFL Network, Mike Mayock was there. And this is the dumbest thing I heard all day, whatever day, Thursday, Tuesday, whenever they came, and his pro day was. NFL Network has their big old Carson Wentz pro day special. Like, first time ever been up to Fargo, or going live to Fargo, North Dakota for a pro day. And they talk about how tough Mike Mayock is. because he was sitting in the Fargo Dome in a polo shirt, and like they said, oh, it's cold up there. There's a blizzard up in Fargo, and look at Mike Mayock, toughest guy in the business, wearing a polo shirt at the pro day.
In a dome.
It's in a dome, and you could see that it's in a dome, so you're completely stupid for saying that. And two, it was not a blizzard in Fargo at all. In fact, it was sunny and probably 40, 45.
Hence why I do not watch the NFL Network.
And but the people, I guess, of North Dakota State are all riled up because they put a graphic on there. I'm not sure if it was ESPN, the NFL Network, and it had the North Dakota logo instead of the NDSU logo.
Well, they're the same school, are they not?
Well, now North Dakota State fans know South Dakota State's pain and always getting mixed up with San Diego State.
I thought they were a co-op.
They could be.
UND, NDSU, because they didn't have enough students for a college. So they co-opted, is what I thought.
It's only an hour commute up to Grand Forks.
Good enough. I watched some of the Yankees-Twins game today. I think Amon did a little bit too.
Yep.
I mean, on MLB Network, you know, I mean, fucking David Cohn and the other guy with this Ryan Presley thing. I mean,
That was pretty bad.
that's All-Star Game 2 years ago. Harold Reynolds calling Max Scherzer a former reliever for Arizona. That's that level bad. That's one of the worst things I've ever heard.
That was
And
really poor.
And I mean, a quick baseball reference search of 15 seconds tells you, no, this is bad. They said Ryan Presley was a Rule 5 pick, and he's got to make the team. That was true 4 years ago. That ain't true this year. And they mispronounced Miguel Sano's name early on, which is bad considering he's going to be.
Did you say Stanow or what?
Something like that. It wasn't very good, considering he's going to be one of the top 10 hitters in that league this year. So that's probably should get to know his name.
I want to bet some money on Sano leading the American League in home runs this year.
I think you can do that.
I think he could hit 40. I'm not even
He's healthy. We'll get into that next week. Twins.
650 PAs. I think he could do it.
A lot of walks. Cut down on those strikeouts.
Yeah.
That's it. One more thing. Next week. WrestleMania next week, too, Stacking, so look forward to that in the blog. That'll be a big deal. AL preview next week. And Drew, something you touched on, I think it was this week, about, I think we've talked about this a little bit before, but expand on it. Changes in you as a sports fan. You like the Twins, the Bucks. Where do you stand as far as allegiances and your transformation to you really like baseball now and things like that?
My allegiances and all that are fine. It's just like the way that I want to like consume sports is different now, and I really just like, I don't know, the way the media functions is really unfavorable to me now, and I'm not interested in it. And most of what I get out of sports now has to do with like sort of just like, it's just more like driven by statistics and things like that. That's more interesting to me now than ever. And I don't know. I just don't. So much of I could put this into better words if you didn't just ask it out of nowhere. But there is something about how the media is like.
All of media, specific networks or sports or.
Well, I'm speaking kind of
people
generality here, but like I feel like the media is like will turn around and criticize what ultimately is what the media wants and craves, and I don't know. I just don't really like care. I just don't really care about reading what. I hate ESPN and SportsCenter and things like that, but I really like more.
In depth.
I just like things the way that Fangraphs is, and
Based on data,
and
facts.
it's not all just like looking at a fucking spreadsheet and being like, "Oh, this is good." Like, there's actually, I don't know, it's more interesting than that, and I don't know. I think the writing on Fangraphs is also really, really good sometimes, and I don't know. It's just different now, and I know like Pro Football Focus is like generally flawed, but like I just like that we're trying something like it at least, and and I think there's more of an enlightenment in the NBA too now, but I just don't really see those things from mainstream media at all. It's still kind of stuck in this particular
era.
Sure.
Well, like I was watching the Yankees Twins today, and they were talking to Joe Girardi for an inning, and I kind of like what he does with his bullpen. And they asked him, do you look at things like what do they call it, pitch revolutions, or how many times the ball spins, or things like that. And he's like, yes, we look at all that stuff. We look at everything. So
yeah.
It's interesting to me, the people that kind of, the Hawk Harrelsons of the world, the people that really don't even pay attention to that at all.
Who's the Hawk with?
Huh?
Who's the Hawk with?
The White Sox.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm thinking of the Rex guy from Kansas City.
No, he's awful too. He's awful. But these old-time baseball guys are given something different, something they don't understand, and they just kind of poo-poo it, and they're more of the eye test rather than, because I like looking at a guy like Dan Santana coming up a couple of years ago, hitting the hell out of the ball, and seeing his BABIP up at like 800. I'm like, well, that ain't gonna last. So it's a good indicator of future success if the guy's sitting out of his mind.
I also just kind of come to the realization that I just don't really think I can be invested in all the shit that goes on. Like, I just feel like there's so many things. Sports is becoming more and more like there to consume. Everything's on TV and all that stuff, and with the internet and all that. I cannot. It's too much. I can't be know everything about college football or college sports in general, and like know everything about the NFL, know everything about. I have to pick the sports that I have to make some choices here at some point.
And what are your choices?
Baseball, bitch.
I think
the NBA a lot.
What?
The NBA is fantastic.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's really kind of pick and choose. Like, I like golf, and there's some parts about college sports that I like, and I'm just going to kind of focus on what those are, rather than just trying to, like,
all of it.
Be involved with everything all of the time.
Stacking, did you have anything?
Well, I was just going to say, with regards to the whole eye test and some of the old guys that do that versus looking at that, I don't think there's anything wrong with the eye test and going primarily based on that, but if you do need to talk about some of these younger guys and their futures, probably should look at some of these stats and some of these projections to know what the hell you're talking about if you're doing a broadcast.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I mean
that's pretty key, but I have no problem with them primarily looking, doing the eye test versus having all of this info on a guy. I mean, you can see if Miguel Sano is swinging and missing, at
his
a
exit velocity is tremendous, is what it is.
Yeah, I like all of that stuff. I really do. I think it's interesting. It doesn't
hurt.
I don't know.
The more information, the better. I mean, if you can, Mike Stanton has the hardest hit balls by a large margin, by a 4 or 5 mile per hour margin. He is number one, by a UConn women's basketball type margin, is what he is. And Sano with the full season, I think he's right in that mix of the top 5, Miguel Sano is for exit velocity. And it makes sense. The harder you hit the ball, further it's going to go, harder it is going to catch when it is in play. And if you look at the guys that hit the ball the hardest, you're going to see the better hitters in the game. And if you look at the guys that hit the ball at 90 miles per hour exit velocity or whatever, those are going to be your worst hitters. So.
And like I know it's like easy to kind of intuit these things, like and you can kind of see people who hit the ball hard and all that. But I just like that. I just like that
it's out there.
I just like that we have the data. I like that we have it, and I like that you can kind of I don't know. It's just fun to look at things like that and to I don't know.
Something I struggle with, I still don't know how they do it, is defensive things like runs saved. How does that work? Since that's not a concrete thing like hitting, it's like, well, is that kind of like how do they determine?
I think Fangraphs does like a hybrid of like their ultimate zone rating, which tries to calculate like how far a player travels to make a play or whatever, and then combines that with like play outcomes and like things like making assists, throwing runners out at bases and things like that. That's as specific as I can get. I haven't really looked into how they figure it in a while. I have before, but it's not super concrete, and it's definitely flawed. But generally speaking, I get a lot of I don't know. It definitely has like proven some things to me that like I've observed. Like for instance, like I don't know, Eddie Rosario is a good defensive player, and like metrics kind of show that. Mm-hmm. So it's just a way of reinforcing what you've seen and what you think is the case, and sometimes it actually contradicts it, which for me that does not mean I'm like, well, fuck this statistic, it's dumb, but it makes me, I don't know, more curious and want to know just maybe why, or like maybe be like, maybe I'm actually kind of wrong on this, and I didn't really know it until now, and that's nice. That's fine. I don't know everything.
There you go.
Yeah.
Eamon doesn't know everything. What is this?
I don't know everything.
Next week we'll know the Final Four. We'll know the championship game is what we'll know. And American League preview picks, all that stuff, and Minnesota Twins next week too.
By the way, for Twins fans out there, ESPN's got a piece why Byron Buxton could be the next big thing, not only for the Twins but for baseball.
We'll get to old Byron Buxton next week. Awfully hefty expectations for this man, which I don't think he'll meet.
So I would say it was a little underwhelming last year.
And his minimal at-bats, he was, 21, 22 years old, young guy. Plenty of time. We'll see what he does this year.
Yeah.
Marcus Draxler, Nathan Stacken, Drue Amon, and for the Cuse. Next week.
We're down by 10.
Next week, Final Four, that'll be done. NBA playoffs about 2-3 weeks away. And baseball will be here next week. So there you go. Sports Lounge 162. Enjoy your Easter eggs and ham. Black Friday. There you go.